Okay, we are live right now. Good evening to all the mothers out there, wherever you are in the world, whatever your time zone is. Good morning to Southeast Asia. Good morning to where else? To Australia, and good afternoon in the USA and in Canada and in other parts of the world. Good evening here in the UK. If you do not know me yet, my name is Jade Luck and I am from the UK. I am the creator of this Facebook group, Mom Knows Best, mainly to help other mothers to educate their children and to uh, gain also learn and share about raising kids and all about motherhood. I am a mother of a toddler. He is 2.5 years old right now, and I am also a digital entrepreneur. I help other mothers to start their own online business from scratch. And every Wednesday we have a go live talking about different kinds of topics about motherhood and raising kids and teaching kids. And today's topic, it's not Wednesday, it's Saturday. We moved it, but next time we will do it on Saturday. We have a very special guest. Today is very, very special because I believe that all the mothers needs to learn this and hear this. And of course, we need to be, uh, you need to take care of our kids when they grow up. I am homeschooling my child because I want him to really be protected by other environments. So I believe that other mothers can relate with this. Anyway, without much further ado, let's welcome our very, very special guest this evening, Elizabeth Urgel, if I pronounce it right.
Yes.
Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for giving us time. I am really, really honored that you gave us your time. I know that you're too busy. We have different time zone, but still, you really have that heart to help other parents. We have like more than 1,000 mothers in our group. So, yes, before going any further, please introduce yourself and tell us about yourself.
Thank you. The honor is mine. I really appreciate you moving the day. My name is Elizabeth Erdell. I am currently a doctoral student with the University of West Florida. I'm actually almost doing my comps. And I have been teaching in early childhood, particularly Head Start, for the last 8 years. And I did pre-K special ed before that. So early childhood is a big passion of mine. I am a mother. I have a soon to be 17-year-old and a 13-year-old. So we're entering completely different areas here that are nerve-wracking, like learning to drive. But yes, I connect, and I one of my biggest things is advocacy for parents and providing information that can help you be a better parent at home.
Wow, that's really amazing. So, and very, very soon we will call you Dr. Urgel.
I hope so.
Yes, you will, and we are looking forward to come to have you here again to talk more about different kind of things. So, our topic today is very, very interesting. Right? It's all about trauma. So, what is trauma actually?
Actually, it's become like a new thing that everybody's talking about right now, especially in the United States, where we're working on trauma-informed curriculums. So
Mm,
trauma is the reaction to adverse experiences that occur in our children's lives from birth to 17 years old. It's kind of like when you have a stress because you're
mm,
nervous about learning how to drive, or you're stressed out because you have a test tomorrow, and those are normal stressors that you have. When you have trauma that comes from an adverse experience, this is stress that causes you to be fearful for your life, or you have this fight or flight, or you're nervous that someone's going to hurt you even though maybe that's not the truth. um, these experiences are not within the normal range, and the younger you are when you have it, the more traumatic it is. In the United States, the numbers are about half of the children in the school system. That's about 35 million kids have had one or more types of adverse experiences that have affected them. So we really are trying to take a step back and start looking at behaviors in the classroom as
Yeah.
maybe manifestations of trauma that we need to address.
Wow. So this trauma really, you can, if it is not being dealt with, you can bring it up to your adulthood life, right?
Yeah, the trauma that you experience as a child, when it's not dealt with and you've had certain number of experiences, it starts to manifest in physical issues that you had. So one study done in 1998 was looking at why there were adults who were not successful with getting better as they aged, and it was because of unresolved experiences that they had as kids. It could cause cardiovascular issues. It could bring about cancer, mental health issues, suicidal ideations. It's pretty heavy when you think about how many adults are out there maybe dealing with this and it was never properly addressed.
Wow, that's kind of scary
It
somehow,
is.
right?
It
Uh,
is. It is. Which is
guys, if
why we
you,
want to take
yes,
care of it now when they're still little so that they don't get to that.
yeah, that's why we really have to take care of our kids, that they will not experience those kind of experiences in their lives. Guys, if you will watch, if you are watching right now, please leave us a comment, and if you have any questions, please ask. And if you will watch for replay later, I know that many will watch the replay because of our time zone. Please leave a question or a message and where you are watching from, and so if you have questions, we can address later for sure. Okay, next is that what are some examples of traumatic experiences of children? Of children, because we have lots of mothers here that are young children. What are those kind of traumatic experiences that we maybe we are not aware that it could be traumatic for our kids,
Well,
right? We
that's
just thought that, yeah,
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that when you think of trauma, you start thinking about the abusive stuff, right?
mm,
Sexual, psychological, emotional, physical. But it actually has been expanded by the CDC to include 54 different things. So living in poverty can cause a reaction of trauma. Experiencing domestic violence on your mother, you not being hit, but watching your mother being hit by your father can cause you to have an adverse experience. Having a parent who's incarcerated, having a parent in the house with untreated mental health issues or drug abuse, um, having to deal with prolonged serious injuries and medical procedures can be traumatic for a child. And another thing that they don't talk about a lot is natural disasters, surviving a natural disaster. So here in the United States, we had Hurricane Katrina in 2005. That was devastating. So those children who survived that have had that as a traumatic experience as well. So it's a lot of little things that can add up. And for some kids, maybe living in poverty doesn't affect them. But
yeah.
for others, that one thing can cause them to have traumatic experience, can have trauma. And the thing that they notice is that when you experience four or more experiences in your early childhood, you are more prone to having these issues as an adult.
It's like you can copy, right? So there are, I think I've read it before that you can have two actions of it. You might copy it or hate it, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes, wow, that's really, really, that's really, really kind of scary. Is this traumatic experience also that has adverse effect if like you're watching your parents that are drunkard?
Yes. So if you have parents in the household that are abusing drugs or alcohol, or it has to be in your household. You might have a grandparent or somebody who doesn't live with you, but it's in your household. And when you think about it, why it's worse for our little guys, it's because they're in the house and they're helpless. They can't leave. Sometimes they can't voice what's going on because they're too little. Previous research thought that since they didn't have the language to express themselves, they wouldn't remember it and it wasn't going to affect them. But it actually is the opposite. It actually does more damage and it restructures your brain. Think about it. If you're constantly in a flight or fight response, your cortisol levels are constantly up. You're always scared because you know when dad walks through the door, mom's going to get hit. How do you think that affects the wiring of your brain and the way you get when you see him, or sometimes we see it when we see them in the classroom. They're withdrawn, they're nervous, they're staring at the door, and you're like, what's going on? Because they're afraid. That's just the reaction they have, that they think when they see someone walk through the door, mommy's going to get hurt.
Yeah, it's like symptoms. Okay, let's go into details. What are the symptoms? What are the symptoms of this trauma that we
Well,
can
when you
see?
well,
Yeah.
when you see sometimes the things that you don't notice, so like with our really, really little ones who don't speak, could
Mm.
be excessive crying. It could be that they want to be with you all the time. It could be with the older ones, anxiety. They have stomach pains all the time, but you have no reason why.
Really?
Regression of skills, that they start forgetting, they start wetting the bed all of a sudden. They're
Oh,
distressed as they get older. Then you have aggression, and you have drug use in some of the teens, alcohol abuse. And so this is where we see language skills issues, of inability to focus, academic issues. And before, we're like, label them, they have special needs, put them in a special class. But sometimes it's not that simple. Sometimes these are just the experiences, these are the reactions that they're having to what they're experiencing at home.
wow. So there are really a lot of things. And yeah, so those are the symptoms of trauma. And so the trauma affects the kids physically as well, you mentioned
Yes.
earlier.
It affects them physically. They could have problems with not wanting to eat, or maybe they throw up often, excessive crying, or they can't relax at night. So yeah, it just depends, because like I said, one kid can have one or two experiences and it doesn't affect them. And then another child has one experience, and just the way that they cope with it just doesn't give them the chance to deal with it very well.
You mentioned earlier that it could cause like cancer, so physical, really, what do you call that? Really, illnesses, diseases could cause by trauma somehow.
And these are the things, and this is what it goes back to. When you think about it, when your cortisol levels are high, your body's
Mm,
constantly stressed, you start developing things in your body. Your body starts reacting biologically. And so
yeah.
they have been lately linking cancer and other cardiovascular disease, obesity, smoking, suicidal ideations, mental health issues, to all these undiagnosed traumatic experiences that kids have.
So I know that in Western countries now the depression level statistics are getting really higher higher. I don't know if these are also, the effects of trauma, right? And from their
Well,
childhood or other
Well,
experiences.
a lot of the research coming out right now is all surrounding COVID. Because now you think about it, our kids, our families, we're home all day long. So if
Yeah.
you're in a home where you were already experiencing these issues, imagine how terrible it is for you to be locked in a house for 6 months and not have a way out. There's no teachers to kind of check in on you and say, hey, there's something going on with this kid, let's check it out. So yeah, there's no escape from it. So there's a lot of studies coming out now talking about it.
That is really, really difficult, especially this time, right? Our baby, he is just 2 years old and a half, but it's just today that he met other kids that really playing for longer time since pandemic. So it's a little bit difficult. The middle of the play, he just cried because he did not really learn how to deal with other kids around. So yeah, it's really a difficult experiences.
It
And
is.
so, if these trauma, how can we deal with it? Oh, first is prevent. How can we prevent
There
from it?
are plenty of ways to prevent it, and it is not a doom and gloom situation like it sounds like. Um,
Yeah,
what we do in the classroom, the first thing is we create a safe environment where the child feels like they are protected. So that's important, and parents can do that for their child too. So maybe you do live in a low income neighborhood. Maybe you do live in a neighborhood that has some violence in it, but it doesn't have to affect the inside of your home. So children need a protective space. They need a place where they are safe and secure and they're loved. And that
Yeah,
I know a
true.
lot of parents are doing already. So that's already a plus, you know? Um, Another thing that we try to do is increase self-regulation skills. So we help children find their emotions. How do you explain your emotions? Hey, I
Mhm.
see that you're upset. Maybe it's because of this. Let's find a way to make you feel better. You're giving the child that control back that they can make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
We do a lot of yoga in the classroom, deep breathing. We do meditation. And now Head Start is starting to, because I work for the Head Start program, we're starting to have mandatory meditation moments twice a day where we stop and just breathe for 2 minutes. Because
Mm.
sometimes when we are in that nervous, we gotta go, it brings you back, it refocuses you. So it helps out a lot. And then another thing that I tell parents, model coping skills. We are
Mm.
not perfect. We make mistakes. We have bad things happen to us. But when something happens, talk to them. Mommy's really sad today. I got in trouble at work and I got upset about it. I need to stop and take a deep breath. I need to relax and I need to figure out how to fix what I did wrong. Or, I'm really nervous. Someone cut off my car. I'm angry. I don't know why. Why don't you help me calm down and let's breathe together? That would really work for me. Those kind of modeling, because you're human, you're showing that things happen, but let's take a step back and together we can calm ourselves down. We can do this. So we're teaching them how to cope. Because what happens as they get older, they start thinking, well, mommy drinks to cope. I'm going to start drinking to cope, right? Or, I'm going to go out all night because I don't want to deal with what's going on at home. But we need to start learning how to cope with things because life is not easy, even when you have a good home.
So there's
So,
also that's how to deal with it. Yeah, that's true. So it's like even even when they are still young, you can really teach him how to like meditate and take a deep breath, right? So
yeah.
if someone if like kids or adult that has already in that is has already the trauma, how do you treat them?
Well,
Aside from
for
breathing and
adults, I would completely start looking into getting actual clinical help from somebody who can help you through it because
mm,
I think there are a lot of people. I've even done, there's an ACE questionnaire where it's like 10 questions
mm,
and you check off and the number that you get. And I've done it and I've had other people do it. And you kind of get scared when you see your number and you're like, well, but I'm doing well. But it's
yeah,
because of that resiliency. So it's that counterbalance of what your family does to protect you despite what you're going through and what you are experiencing. So it kind of does work itself out. So if you have proper resilience and techniques that your parents teach you, or you had a loving environment, and it's possible to get over it. I go back to the poverty thing because just because you live in poverty doesn't mean that you have a bad home. If
mm,
you're not constantly fighting in front of the kids about money or crying or, you keep it positive, and I know that's hard. That's really hard. But when you think about what it does to the kids, you kind of have to, or if you're gonna talk to them, talk in front of them, you're gonna have to be honest with them. Say, look, we're struggling right now, but we're gonna get better because we are doing this, this, and that to get out of where we're at. And it shows that you're taking charge. It shows that you're giving examples of what you are doing to take control. It's all about learning that you can control your reactions to things.
that's
So
that's really true. I think yeah, yeah, that's really true. That's really helpful if you seek medical professional help when I think it is really traumatic experience. I just realized now that when I was young, maybe 8 years old, 9 years old, I had two brothers, and we went to the river, and then my other brother. Uh, like throw me to my other brother, and then the water in
mm,
the river, and the water was deep, so I was standing on the
that's
river
good.
on the sink, so I think, and it was an experience for me, and so I it's kind of I have fear
Yeah.
for water, that I cannot go really into deep. And then I met a friend who is doing NLP, and we did a session, a therapy session. And I know that, yeah, I'm okay, I had no problem. And from that session, he discovered that I have fear. And I did not know that I had fear. I said, no, I don't have fear. But after that session, yes, we discovered. And I admit, I realized that I have fear of failures. So,
And
yeah, that's
and
what.
that's pretty much right along the lines of what we're going with. So it's discovering, it's being acknowledging that you may have some unresolved issues that maybe you just need to talk to someone once. Maybe you need years of talking to people and working on things, but it's just acknowledging that you have it.
Yeah, and after the therapy, I discovered that I can do a lot of things. Before I did not know how to cook. That is really that is really kind of a dominant effect, a really good effect. After that, I didn't know how to cook, and my therapist, my friend, he told me, what is the thing that you really don't like to do? I said, I don't like kitchen. I don't like to cook. So he said, okay, you have to cook for me as part of your therapy. And so
Oh,
I cooked, and now I am cooking.
that's
My
great.
husband my husband said, you're a good cook. So I face the kitchen. So I yeah, I excel. I believe in that part because I don't hate cooking anymore after that therapy. So
That's great.
that's, yeah, I can really relate in that. But with the parents that are watching now or replay, can you tell them how to take care of their kids, and anything that you can encourage them and advise to our parents right now?
Okay, well, you can completely combat the adversities that they're having by teaching healthy coping skills,
Yeah.
um, building their resilience, helping them learn that you're going to fall down, but the important thing is you get back up. And you have to model that because you can say that so you're blue in the face, but if you're the first one giving up when something happens, you're not really teaching them that, you know? Providing a supportive environment and talking to them about their emotions. Give them the words, even when they're very little, even when they're tiny and they don't talk. You can still give them the words. You model that for them. I see you're sad. I see that you're clenching your fists and
Yeah.
maybe you're mad. Let's talk about why. Let's see, why are you mad? And it takes a lot. It takes a lot. It's hard to raise kids. But
True.
you can
True.
help them overcome. And the best thing is that you model it. They learn by watching what you're doing. So if
When
you're doing good, they will.
my baby is 2 years old. Yeah, I will ask you this. He is just 2.5 years old, and when he turned 2 years old, he started throwing tantrums.
Oh,
And I
well,
was,
that's
oh dear, what should I do? What am I gonna do? I only have one child, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And when he sometimes he cries and really shout, and I always tell him, take a deep breath, take a deep breath. And so he take a deep breath. Also, he does like that, and then he comes down. And so
well,
is
it's
it?
actually very developmentally appropriate. That's him learning. It's the terrible twos for a reason, but it's because they're learning that they have emotions. Their emotions are really big and they don't know how to express it. So the only way he can express it is this anger, is this crying. So that's typically normal for a 2-year-old. I know it's terrible and it actually gets worse in 3.
Oh dear. Is it all right if I will stop him not to cry? If I will say, do not cry, do not cry. Should I say like that to him, or just allow him to express his cry, his emotions? What should I
It
do?
depends. It depends. Sometimes I've heard people tell their kids, "Oh, boys don't cry," or I say, let him have his emotions. Say, "Okay, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to cry, but
Hmm.
then when we're done, I need you to stop, okay? And we'll figure out how to help you." And you can put a timer. You can put like a little something that's like a little card that's red or green. Like, look, while it's red, you can cry. When I put green, we're all done, and we're gonna go do something fun. And we're gonna go play, But yeah, it's all redirection with the little guys. It's oh, look at this pretty little toy over here, and all of a sudden, usually they stop. But with the little guys, it's just giving them the words. Oh, I see you're really upset. I see you're
Yeah.
upset. How can we help you? Let's see. And then, we calm down. We have in the classroom a safe space. So we have
Mm,
a corner of the room that
mm,
has a nice chair. There's a blanket. Sometimes we put some lotions that smell like lavender or something they can squeeze. And I tell my students who are having a meltdown, do you need a moment? Do you need to go to the safe space? And they'll usually say yes, because it is not a timeout. This is a safe space where I go. I'll look at some books. I'll cry. I'll hug my dolls. And then when I tell them, are you ready to come back? And they'll tell me, I'm not ready yet. Or they'll say, yes, I want to come back because they've had their moment. We have it. I tell my students all the time, Mr. Dell needs a safe space. And they're like, oh, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not okay. I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to go sit. And I do it because this is what they learn. I'm putting it's, and they're like, oh, you're in timeout. It's not a timeout. It's a mental break for me and I'm going to take it. And I kind of exaggerated. I hug the bear, I touch the stuff, and they're like, do you feel better, Mr. Down? I'm like, yes, I do. So it's just modeling that for them so it's not so scary because we have emotions. We have
yeah.
emotions and sometimes it gets the best of us, but we have to learn how to cope with it.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you so much.
You're
I've
welcome.
learned so much on this episode. You know, I I am not young to be a mother, but I am young in my experience as a mother. And because my baby is just 2 years old, I've learned so many things, and I've learned it for myself as well. And I know that so many parents have learned also and very, very interested in this topic. Thank you so much, uh, Liz, for your time. And thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for the wisdom that you are sharing to all the mothers that
Thank you.
we have here in our group. I hope, moms, that you all send us a message. And if you have questions, just send us your questions, and we will be so glad to answer those queries and questions about your kids. Bye for now. Have a good night, everybody. God bless.
Thank you.